Imagine the most powerful man alive, a man who conquered one of the largest empires in history. He had power, wealth, and influence beyond imagination. And yet, after all of that power, all of that glory, he ends up in a coffin. Just a box. But here's what's interesting. Legend goes that he had one last request. He wanted his hands to be left hanging outside his coffin for everyone to see that they were empty. Think about that. After everything he conquered, he left with nothing. And that man was none other than Alexander the Great. His life, it had a massive impact on the world, but his death teaches us something even greater. It doesn't matter how much you conquer, how much you accumulate. You can't take a single thing with you. Your wealth stays in this world. And today, I am going to be telling you how you can take that wealth with you. But here's where most people get the story wrong. We focus on the treasure, right? The gold, the empire, but his greatness, it was built long before any of that. You see, before he became Alexander the Great, he was just a student, like me, except his group projects involved actual war, so slightly different pressure. And he was taught by one of the greatest thinkers in all of history, Aristotle. As a teenager, you wouldn't just see him sitting around. He was already out there in the battlefield, leading cavalry and playing a key role in securing victory. He didn't wait for someone to tell him it was okay. He didn't sit around hoping motivation would hit him. He just did it. And that is the fundamental choice every single one of us has to make, to act. Alexander used his knowledge, discipline, and bold decisions and went on to conquer one of the largest empires of time. But he wasn't just doing this for money. He was doing this to create influence, legacy, and impact. So what does this have to do with us? Because it's easy to sit there and think, yeah, that's Alexander the Great. That's history, it's different. But really, it's not. His success wasn't a result of an empire or an army. It's something much more powerful, something we all have, and that is time. We often underrate it, waiting for our perfect moment. But Alexander didn't wait for the stars to align or a sign from the universe. No. He used what he had when he had it, and that is why his impact lasted. Because when you strip it all down, waiting is just another way of wasting time. So what does this have to do with us? Sorry. Because this isn't about history, this is about you. Because the same time that shaped his legacy is quietly shaping yours. So how can you get there and build something that lasts even when you don't? Well, it comes down to two things, and that is act and impact. And I have just 5 points on how to use this act and impact, and you can memorize all of these 5 points with just one word. And that word is action. So let's dig into it. The A in action stands for act before you feel ready. Before my exams, I remember telling my dad that I have zero motivation to study. And my dad straightforwardly said, stop waiting for motivation. At first, I was taken aback, like, why did he say that? But as he continued talking, it started to make more sense. You see, most people think that they'll start when they feel ready. But the truth is, you will never fully feel ready. Even people like Alexander the Great started young, unsure, but he still took that risk. If you wait for the perfect moment, you waste time. Once you take action, your brain adapts and it builds momentum. And that momentum gives you the motivation you were waiting for. The C in action stands for choose how you use your time. We don't lose time in big chunks. We lose it in small moments. Imagine you're working and then you're like, oh, I'm tired. Let me just open my phone for 5 minutes. And then the next thing you know, you have watched 27 videos, like 13 posts, and somehow learned how to survive a shark attack. Useful? Maybe. Necessary? Not really. But being aware changes everything. Once you're intentional, you start deciding where your time goes. And you begin to realize that time is limited. We act like we have forever. Perhaps that is why we waste time, because we believe we have more of it. If you only had 1 year left to live, you wouldn't waste it. You would focus on what truly matters. You would stop delaying, stop overthinking, and just start acting. The T in action stands for track your progress, not just movement. Being busy feels good. It makes you feel productive, but you can be busy all day and still go nowhere. That's not progress. Scrolling, overthinking, and even constant planning can all feel productive, but if nothing gets done, then we're not really planning now, are we? We're just delaying in a more organized way. At the same time, life isn't just about working nonstop. If all you do is chase success but never spend time with the people who matter, then what are you doing? What impact are you leaving behind? Because your legacy isn't just about something you achieve, it's also about how people remember you. And that is why Alexander the Great is still remembered. Not just for conquering empires, but because he was out there with his soldiers, fighting beside them, and not planning or plotting from a distance. That's impact. So remember, plan your time wisely, make space for both growth and meaning, because you can move all day and still go nowhere. The I in action stands for invest in smaller actions. We're all waiting for that big moment that changes everything, but in reality, it's the small things done daily that create real change. It's like going to the gym once and then checking the mirror like, yeah, where's the transformation? The relax. It doesn't work like that. It's the small actions repeated daily that quietly build something powerful and eventually give you a six-pack. And even in the case of Alexander the Great, his empire wasn't built in just one battle. It was built over time. One victory didn't make him great, but rather it was the accumulation of many. So never underestimate small actions, because they may seem minor now, but they are what shape your future. And finally, the O and N in action stands for overcome your fear and never delay your potential. A lot of people delay doing things because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But here's the thing you gotta understand. Fear will always be there. Before you start, while you're doing it, and even after you succeed. So if you're waiting for fear to disappear, you're just going to be waiting forever. You see, the goal isn't to be fearless. It never was. Because courage is in the absence of fear. It's taking the action despite it. Now, obviously, even Alexander the Great felt fear. Man, he fought battles. He knew the risks, but he didn't let that stop him. He acted anyway, leading his men from the front, making decisions others hesitated to make, and leaving an impact that is still remembered to this day. The lesson? Don't wait to feel ready. Progress and legacy come when you act, especially when fear is present. And every time you delay, you move further and further away from the potential you could have reached. At the start of this speech, I said I was going to tell you how to take your wealth with you. But so far, I've talked about act and impact. And you might be thinking, okay, well, cool speech, but where's the wealth? Well, your legacy is the wealth you take. Not money, not followers, not awards. I'm talking about the lessons you shared, the people you influenced, the paths you inspired others to follow. That's the impact you leave, and that is the wealth you take. Because when someone passes away, nobody really says, wow, they had an amazing bank account. No, They say stuff like, they changed my life. They were always there for me. I am who I am because of them. People remember who you were and what you had. Sorry, what you built, not what you had. And that is legacy. That is the wealth that doesn't stay behind, it moves forward. There's even a quote that says, every man has two deaths. One when he's buried in the ground, and the last time someone says his name. The first death, you can't control it, but the second, it depends entirely on how you live. And by that logic, Alexander the Great is only half dead. If legacy is an impact that survives time, then don't just think 5 years ahead. Think 100, 200 years ahead, because the real question is not, what will people think of me while I'm alive? The real question is, will my impact still be there? In someone's confidence, in someone's courage, in someone's ability to try because of me? And if we bring it back to Alexander the Great, maybe he didn't just conquer land, but became the starting point of something much bigger than himself. A ripple that kept moving through history. The goal is to create something so meaningful that even if your name fades, your impact doesn't. And that is what Alexander did, and that is why the world remembers him. But here's the thing. Greatness was never reserved just for him. It's available for anyone who chooses to act, and that includes you. So don't just sit there feeling inspired, act. Start that thing you have been delaying, send that message, take that first step, even if it's small, even if it's messy, but start now. Make your present the best past you ever lived. Use your time wisely, invest in what truly matters, and step into greatness before your story ends. Because one day, think about what legacy you want to leave behind. And just like how Alexander used his time and conquered the world, well, you may not conquer empires, but you can conquer your dreams, your goals, and the future. And that is how you take your wealth with you. Thank you very much.